Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, Your Stars Aligned. This is Carmina, Vedic astrologer and reader with the cards of truth. And today I'm coming at you with a sweater because it's weather again. It's snowing like crazy here, but that won't stop us to think about astrology, right? Okay, so with all this Saturnian weather, with the cold air, I thought that we would be looking at something that is very important in Vedic astrology and that I address in my videos where I make examples, but I don't think I've ever made like a particular video on the planetary fulfillments, right? Which is the Lajjitaadi Avasthas. And my teacher Ernst Wilhelm calls this aspect, this facet of Vedic astrology, the heart of Parashara, right? Because it's one of the essential things, and one of the things that if Western astrology had, they would have so much more fulfilling predictions. And why? Because the Lajjitaadi Avasthas describe the planetary conditions, the planetary states, right? And we can look at these planetary states in transit and as well on a person's birth chart. So what are these mysterious planetary and whimsical planetary states that I refer to? Well, for instance, planets with each other can be in a friendly relationship, in an enemy relationship, or neutral. These are temporary, these are natural relationships, right? And they determine the Lajjitaadi Avasthas. And the conditions of the planets according to these relationships between them. Planets can be starved, planets can be shamed, they can be delighted, and they can be proud, right? And they can also be agitated. So these are the conditions. And because there are more malefics than benefics, and because Saturn has 3 enemies, you will get like in a lot of charts, you will see a lot of less favorable, less desirable avasthas, right? And let me explain to you just a little bit what it is like. So for instance, we have 2 planets that are friends and are in the same sign. For instance, Mercury and Venus, right? That's great because they are friends and they help each other out. So if Venus is not doing so well, Mercury will help it, and vice versa. And let's consider, for instance, that Mercury and Venus are joined together but in Leo. Well, Venus being in Leo is not doing so great because it's going to be in an enemy sign, right? Mercury being in Leo is going to be delighted because the Sun is a friend to Mercury. So, Venus is not going to be as great as Mercury because on one hand it gets some starvation from the Sun, but on the other hand it gets delight from its friend Mercury. And in order to see what prevails, like the bad state or the good state, we have to check out some mathematical calculations. Like in Kala we have a table of avasthas already calculated, and we have to check to see if the positive ones surpass as number, as total amount, the negative ones for each planet, right? Okay, so what can like comfortable and uncomfortable avasthas mean? Well, for instance, since we took like Venus and Mercury, a delighted Venus will find more satisfaction. Venus rules like self-fulfillment, fulfillment with ourselves, and also fulfillment with relationships, right? So when we get like a delighted Venus, we will find more ways, and maybe more fun ways, to find fulfillment, because Mercury also rules games. Mercury rules finding solutions and making lists and plans and things like that. But at the same time, because Venus is in Leo, it's gonna feel like it has to do a lot more, right? That just being, which is like the essence of the feminine energy, to be loved just for existing, just for being, is not enough for Venus in Leo, right? Venus in Leo feels like they have to do more so that they impress the other people and that they are socially accepted, right? So this is one of the facets that shows one example to show how the planetary relationships work. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you guys like what's happening in the sky at the moment, to see like what are the planetary conditions. We're gonna pop up the Avasthas screen as well. This is a wheel chart, right? This is good for when you look at transits, when you look at predictive transits, when you do rectifications, you use this wheel because you can see how the transits planet, which is the outer circle, influences the inner uh, planet, which is a person's birth chart. But I just wanted to look at, Avasthas. I think I'm gonna open a new birth chart, which is gonna be like Avasthas. Bing, bing, bing. Okay, so in this chart that we opened, let's say somebody was born in this second in Washington, D.C., because that was my default city. What is their imprint, right? What is their planetary fulfillment imprint? Well, let's start with the sun. We see that the sun is with Mercury and Venus. Mercury is a neutral planet towards the sun, and Venus is an enemy, right? So it's gonna feel a bit starved, because when a planet is with its enemy, it feels starved. However, the sun is exalted in Aries, so it's proud, right? So it's gonna have some buffer, some inner strength. Look how high the total Shadbala is, right? Because when we look at Avasthas, we take into consideration Shadbala, which is another mathematical calculation, right? To see the active operating strength of the planets. So here we see, okay, the minimum Shadbala required for the sun would be 390, and in this chart it's got 635. So pretty good, and also proud, exalted in Aries. And also, Mercury is like a buffer here between the sun and Venus, helping them both, right? Not to be in direct contact. So we can see here in the table that Venus is starving the sun by 187 points, and Saturn is also starving the sun, right? And why? Because it's forming a planetary aspect, a square. And this is like more serious than the damage done by Venus. But at the same time, we can see that Sun's friend Jupiter is helping out a lot, right, by 268. And Mars is also helping, right? Mars is exalted as well. The moon is also giving it a bit of a help to the sun. So we can see Sun is at the same time starved, but also delighted by his friends, and also proud for being in Aries. So this person is gonna have some trouble with, manifesting the solar qualities, like pursuing their inspiration, their path, but at the same time, they will be disciplined. They will bring discipline into it, so they will fight to pursue their inspiration by using discipline, and also them pursuing inspiration will make them feel that they're part of the bigger scheme of things, right? And also that the joy of life is flowing through them when they fulfill their inspiration, which is really nice. So yeah, the moon is pretty good. The moon is in a friend sign. It's in Gemini. It's helped by Mercury and by the Sun. So the moon has no issues. Mars has a mixed bag of Avasthas. It has some help from, the total Shadbala. It's below minimum, I think. Yeah, it should be 360 and it's only 315, right? So with Mars, there is a bit of, it is exalted in Capricorn, but still there's a bit of an issue from Saturn, which, conjuncts Mars, and Saturn is always a constricting influence, so it can make it feel stuck, like getting up and doing what you want to do will feel a bit stuck and a bit more delayed. And also, Mercury gives it a bit of a, because Mercury is the enemy of Mars, it also kind of prevents it from like choosing and doing, because Mercury, has a broad spectrum of things, thinks of a lot of things, but Mars just has to like do one thing and not get lost in the many things of Mercury. Yeah, Mars, as I said, it's exalted, which is good. It also gets the light from his friends, the Sun, the Moon in Jupiter. So yeah. And then Mercury is also a mixed bag, right? But it tilts toward the positive, because 400 is greater than like 352. So Mercury will help this person be a good manager of their life overall. Jupiter is also a mixed bag with a bit more, negative than positive influence. The Sun is helping, so their inspiration will help them also fulfill their broader plan in life, and also feel the joy of life. But if Jupiter's Avasthas are so, but the suns are more positive, and it will help Jupiter, right? And now let's see the Venus. Venus is more good than bad, so it has some damage from the Sun, but it also gets a lot of help from Mercury and from Saturn, right? Saturn helps Venus focus on its goal, right? So for instance, a person who should do some taking care of their health, which is also like feeling fulfilled, feeling nourished, Venusian, the person is like, oh my God, if I do that, I will miss spending time with friends, for instance. But then Mercury says, okay, like make it fun, go to the spa or something, go take care of yourself, and also make it fun in a way. And at the same time, you have to be focused on your health. That's what Saturn says, right? And yeah, so Venus can work it out. Saturn's Avasthas are also important. They're pretty on the negative side here, because Saturn helps us finish things, right? The Sun helps us start things, and Saturn has to deal with like longevity and finishing a project in a satisfactory manner. So yeah, here this person, hypothetical person that would be born now, would have some trouble with finishing things. So what they need to do is think of if something they are pursuing is practical to their lives, right? So they have to listen to Venus, and also they have to make lists of how to go about things. So this is like listening to Saturn's friend Mercury. Yes, so this is like a little, this was like a little example on how we work with the planetary fulfillments with Avasthas, and this can be interpreted in the context of transits as well as a person's chart.